Conservatives fighting back against corporate DEI may have scored their biggest victory yet. Walmart, the nation's largest private employer, just announced it is rolling back its diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives.
You get that rolling back?
Womp womp.
Made outcries over so-called corporate wokeism and claims that DEI is more divisive than inclusive. Walmart says it's ending racial equity training programs for staff, evaluating programs designed to increase supplier diversity, reviewing funding of pride events, and removing sexual or transgender products marketed to children.
Whoa, let's talk about that one real quick.
Oh, they trying to win back the red. Did they ever lose them though?
I don't know if they ever lost. I mean, well, according to their share price, they lost some market share too, along with Target. So, and maybe we could just, pick it up from right here, because essentially, let me go back to this screen so we can have a good view. This is what, on this list, which ones are you good that are, they're getting rid of, and which one was like, they can keep it?
Transgender products marketed to kids, that can go away.
Yeah, that same here. Okay.
Reviewing funding of pride events, that's more of a personal decision. That shouldn't be in the workplace. If they wanted, that should be something that's optional. It shouldn't be anything that's mandatory.
Well, they said pride events, but what I think they meant to say Juneteenth events as well too, because I know Walmart participates in Juneteenth events as well.
I think I might be the only person in the world that never wanted Juneteenth to be public. I liked it better when it was private.
Yeah, you ain't the only one. Honestly, that's the only thing Biden really did for Black Americans. Well, he said it was for Black Americans, but I see a lot of people that are absent of color celebrating it more. But, whatever. Go ahead.
Dude, yeah, I'm going to tell you, ever since they did that, I live right outside of Phoenix, so there's multiple Juneteenth events here. I have to research who's actually hosting it to see who's actually financially profiting off of it. If Juneteenth is going to be a holiday to celebrate, here it started out as a day where you would go to Black vendors, Black merchants, and support their businesses. But 2 years ago, there was a Juneteenth event. I was supposed to be doing voter registration, and they told us we couldn't even do that. So that's when I'm like, all right, I'm looking at this all weird now. Like, I can't trust it. You don't even want me to register people to vote. All right, I'm good. But I'm going too far off track. Walmart is realizing that the rest of the country is not rocking with this stuff as much as people think. We're approaching a new day, and some people are gonna have to catch up. We don't want to be victims no more. We're gonna get it out the mud.
Is it really a new day, or are we just going back to pre-2020?
Well, let me put it to you like this. You remember the Budweiser issue not too long ago, right?
Yeah.
How'd that work out for them? And now Jaguar, I don't know if you heard this, they're running a commercial right now with a whole bunch of guys in dresses, and they're already getting pushed back for it.
Yeah.
Like, people ain't even rocking with this. And when I say people, there's even LGBT people that are like, all right, this is too much. I just wanted to be able to get married. If you ought to leave me the hell alone. I didn't want all this stuff on kids and all these extra days and celebrations. I've heard people tell me this, but I think Walmart is trying to be proactive. And Trump decidedly, it wasn't even close how much he beat Kamala Harris by.
Exactly.
And I think the commercial that puts him over the top was that, I don't know if you saw it, but the one where it's like, Kamala is for they, them, but Trump is for you.
Yeah.
I think that was probably his most effective commercial. And the country thought so too. People are tired of being forced to push further and further to the left. And I think Walmart is realizing that now, and they're trying to go back to the middle. They still suck though.
Yeah. What about any racial equity training for staff? And also evaluating programs to increase supplier diversity. And for the audience, what that means is they were elevating products that specifically were from, I want to say, Black vendors. They were specifically elevating those on the website, as well as elevating those in the store as well too. So just because they were Black products, they received more shelf, or the top or high priority shelf position, or they were marketed a little bit more on the website just because they were Black. And I know some people are going to be like, well, what's the problem with that? You've already, if you don't see a problem with some of that stuff that they're doing, and especially like, it's one thing if it's like stuff that's like moving. Like I have, was it Stubbs barbecue sauce? It's
Yeah,
like sugar free. That is like one of the best barbecue sauces that I've ever had. Like it's a
I've
real
heard
good
that.
product. Yeah. It's an amazing product. Like, and it's sugar free too. So, for the diabetic bros out there, it's a very good product and great on the taste and everything. I don't believe that product's elevated. And I could be wrong, but I don't think that product's elevated. It's just in the barbecue sauce. They got a bunch of other products there. And and I've seen it at like, not just Walmart, but I've seen it at other locations though. But the point in all that is, if the product is good, people are going to buy it. Like
Yeah.
regardless of whose face is on it, regardless of like what it looks like. If the product is good, a good example is that pink sauce lady. Do you remember the story behind that?
The pink sauce lady. I do
Yeah,
not.
there was like a big thing about this chick. It was a black chick. She was making this pink sauce, and it was pretty much disgusting. Like it looked like Pepto Bismol. Like people were like, they were getting like different variations of the pink sauce, and I think she ended up like just selling the product to like a vendor, some other vendor or something.
Food and safety concerns caused the FDA to step in and effectively shut down the online sales of pink sauce.
Yes, but it's still being sold because I think they cleaned it up. But the last interview I heard from her, she's not making any money from it because she's in the red. And again, this is a black chick, and the whole thing was like, it's a black woman, it's a black owned product, black woman made it, blah blah blah. That's fine if the product's good. People are gonna. I mean, it's pink. I think some people will be like, oh, it's pink, or kids will like it because it's pink. But there was a lot of food and safety issues.
Yeah, I just saw, yeah, she sold it to some company called Dave's Gourmet. So yeah, she probably didn't
Yeah.
make much to, I guess it's FDA approved now since they took it over. But I do want to go back to supplier diversity real quick.
Mhm.
I've changed my perspective on that over the years. You should have more than one supplier, but you shouldn't be picking suppliers based on how they look. It should be based on the quality of the products they have. From an underwriting standpoint, I deal with a lot of merchants that have supply and stock on hand, right? And one of the
Mhm.
things I've noticed is if you have a single supplier or just a small number of suppliers, you have what's called concentration risk, which basically means if your supplier fails, then you fail.
Yeah.
You do kind of want to diversify that out and have as many as possible. Um, that's what I think of when I look at supplier diversity, but Walmart probably looks at it as a racial thing.
Yeah.
I really want to get us past I can't believe I'm even saying this because 10, 15 years ago, I wouldn't be saying this. But again, I want to caution that we can compete with any other group of people. We just got to sit down and strategize and do the work.
Yeah.
You just talk about that Stubbs BBQ. That's a black man's face on that bottle.
Yeah.
So that's not going to slow down sales. I mean, I think of Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima and all those that got taken down. Those all had black people on representing them on the labels.
Yeah.
So look, one thing about people know about us is we gonna cook. We gonna throw some seasonings and stuff together like no other group of people can. That could be a specialty, and you can dominate something like that if you make the right connections and get in the right store. So I just don't want us to keep doing this victim thing over and over again because we tried it and it doesn't work. But
Yeah.
that being said, Walmart is just being proactive. They're trying to prepare for what's coming. I think they realize it's like a lot of other people that people are tired of all this stuff, man.
Yeah.
And the Dems haven't realized it yet because they're still blaming everybody for it. But Walmart certainly seems to have recognized
You know
it.
what's funny? You know what's funny in all this too? All this stuff has been tied. Like it starts off with racial equity, in which I think some people know they're talking about, things related to black people or women in most cases. But it's all tied together with transgender stuff and pride stuff. That should be like the biggest red flag to why the stuff needs to go anyways. Those things are not all the same. I don't know why that community, and I'm going to say community, I'm talking about the liberals. I don't know why that community wants to tie everything together like a one big fun bunch. They don't even like each other. They don't even get along with each other. Their
Yeah.
only thing that they did like was going against Trump. Well, that's over with. And so now we're seeing the dust settle. Now we're seeing how some of these folks really feel about each other. They don't have the same things. And so when Target did that whole, transformer thing with the kids' clothes, they lost so much market share, bad press. I don't know if their stock has even recovered. We sure know Budweiser hasn't recovered. I still don't get a Budweiser because of that whole fiasco. And it's not so much that they gave the can to what's his face, which no, that guy, he's not even around anymore. So that's the funny thing. Budweiser, they gave this can to this person who is not really a spokesperson for them. And instead of just saying, hey, we messed up, we screwed up, we're gonna, throw ourselves at the mercy of everyone's feet and say, like, hey, we messed up, we're gonna do better. No, they doubled down, they tripled down on it, because I listened to their the CEO give out the the annual report, and he's like, well, we just, it wasn't our best move, but we're gonna keep moving forward. The woman behind that campaign, she lost her job. So she'll probably get another job, because it was a couple of years ago. So she's probably working now, but they had to get rid of her. That's how bad that campaign was. And so for them to think that this stuff is like, Budweiser was like an obvious, it's going to be in a lot of marketing books in colleges. Budweiser was the first one, and he had Target do their silly ass shit, and he had Walmart kind of doing their silly ass shit. And lately, what I have been seeing is universities have been rolling back their DEI initiatives as well too, because they realize that this doesn't help. It's more divisive than helpful. And the thing about the DEI stuff, and you were in this group when we talked about DEI, where it was pretty much we were on the side that DEI doesn't help or isn't as helpful as some people think it is. And he had other people talking about, like, DEI is everything to me. It helps us black men. Look, for the black men listening to me, DEI does not help you. DEI helps everybody else, but it doesn't help your black asses. So don't even think DEI is there for you. The majority of the people I see when it comes to DEI is generally non-straight men running the DEI department, and then also is generally a woman that's in that position, either on either side of the fence. And then also I see more white people in leading these DEI departments. So whatever we're supposed to do for you, it skipped over y'all. So it's not even helping. But again, like I said, people will die on the sword for DEI, and DEI has not even been helping people. DEI might help like a small percentage of people that are not white men, but it doesn't help. It's not helping the community out. It doesn't do what people think it does. And you got a bunch of people sitting around trying to figure out what we're gonna do for the potluck for the Juneteenth. Come on, you don't need people doing that. That's why they're getting rid of the DEI. If DEI was that good, if DEI was that good of a program, why are all these companies getting rid of it at the same goddamn time? And they also started at the same damn time, back in 2020 or a little after 2020, putting in these DEI programs.
Yeah, I think of the old Chris Rock joke. He used it to talk about affirmative action. He was like, and I think Chris Rock, in my opinion, is partially conservative. That's a different story.
Oh, definitely.
He said, look, if a white person performs the job better than me, he deserves that promotion. But if there's a tie between me and him, give me the job. And I'm kind of in the same boat. But again, I've said this before too. I have DEI experience with 4 different companies. They've all asked me to put my black face and join their committees and be an ambassador for DEI. But they'll tell you behind closed doors, like as you so eloquently stated, look, we're not rocking with you. We want the women, we want the LGBT/non-binary folks. We're not rocking with you. We just want you to be there. No, that's not gonna work for me. I don't need to be a part of anything like that. And honestly, all it's doing is just creating more separation. We're good enough. We are good enough. I go back to the Forbes article that I talked about before that said the Black Americans spend about $300 billion. We have enough money to build our own stuff. But when I hear all this DEI stuff, all I hear is us just begging, why won't you just accept me?
Yeah,
please just take me for who I am. And I'm here to tell you, it's not going to happen. If they don't want to play with you, go take your ball and go to another court and get it popping at the other court. Period. Because you can do that. You can do that.
Yeah, it's 100% that. And I got one more for you when it comes to DEI stuff. And I know this is going to be controversial, and it is what it is, but they need to make Juneteenth not a federal holiday anymore. It's not doing what it's supposed to. Well, Juneteenth was already being recognized by Black communities. Yeah. So it's not even so much like, when people, it's so funny when it comes to DEI, or not DEI, but when it comes to Juneteenth, because the people that are not familiar with it are generally white people. And it is what it is. Like, usually Juneteenth is generally celebrated in the home or the church, or discussed in your home in church, and sometimes at school. But I'm having a hard time remembering if we discussed Juneteenth actually. But for the most part, it needs to be rolled back anyways, though, because it's not doing what they said it was intended to do. That was just like a bargaining chip to tell Black Americans, or what Biden did was like, hey, guys, I'm on your side, and part of me being on your side, I'm gonna give you a Juneteenth, and I won't do anything else for you ever again. And he kept his promise.
I mean, look, I'll take the day off. Don't get me wrong,
Well,
but
I
I liked it better. First of all, before we even talk about Black people or before white people know what Juneteenth is, let's talk about the Black people who don't know what Juneteenth is.
Yeah.
Let's start there. A lot of people know what it is now, so I guess that was one positive thing about it. But when I was growing up, uh, I would go to Juneteenth festivals down at Carter Lake in my hometown of Omaha, but there was a lot of people even back then that did. I'm talking about Black folks that did not know what Juneteenth was.
Yeah.
Now, again, this goes into education, but can you really force non-Black people to care about Black things? The answer is no.
No.
And can you force integration? The answer is no. It has to happen naturally and organically. If it happens any other way, it's disingenuous and it's going to create resentment. And that is all you did when you made Juneteenth a federal holiday.
Yeah.
Now you got a whole bunch of people that ain't even Black profiting off a holiday that's supposed to represent Black freedom and prosperity.
Exactly. And in the Black community, we just, hey, thanks, boss. Like, that's exactly what we did. Like, this is why wokeism and that liberal bullshit, this is why it's terrible for Black people, because they gave a Black holiday, they federalized a Black holiday, and you don't get that day off in most cases unless you work for like the government or some financial institution. So there's a bunch of people profiting off of that holiday. And then you have, we talked about it briefly, the Aunt Jemima and Uncle Ben, two products that had Black faces on them. But, white liberals made you feel bad, or, I mean, actually, they didn't make you guys feel bad. They just we didn't even care. But because white liberals had a problem with it, they went to those companies, and those companies folded. And then they started, and they said, and they updated those faces. And what did we do? I mean, because I know a lot of people are like, it's just syrup and, rice. That, I mean, it looks weird seeing them without their faces. It looks way weird. And for people thinking that's not a big deal, for the people that talk about the culture and everything, I know it's going to be weird just saying that stuff is part of the culture, but it really is, though, because that has been the face since I was a kid. And then all of a sudden the face is gone and they don't replace it. It's just an empty bottle, or, a non-face bottle, but whatever, a body bottle. But even with Uncle Ben as well, too. And we just folded. And then we take this, Juneteenth holiday. Again, unless you work for these particular places, which majority of Americans do not, you're not even going to get the benefit of the Juneteenth. I'd rather have voting day be a national holiday than the Juneteenth, because you have too many people out here just taking advantage of it. And take the extra day. It is what it is. But that's something. If it really was that important to Americans, then why weren't people advocating for it before 2020? No, they weren't. It was just like, figure out how far we can go. You had all these companies talking about all their woke DEI initiatives, and what did they do? They all folded. So all this stuff is just bullshit, and people need to realize that this DEI stuff, this woke stuff, is dead. It's no one's going to be messing with it for a long time. And the Democrat Party, they're going to have to figure it out, though, because they got the liberal and progressive war happening. Well, also, Democrats, they got that whole war going on, trying to out woke each other. It ain't going to happen.
Hey, so a couple things real quick. Number one, woke used to mean something. Woke used to mean it used to mean something great.
You're right.
But
they ruined it.
The meaning it kind of changed when white folks got a hold of it, and they attached it to the white liberals so much that it oh god, that's number one.
I forgot about that. Yes.
So, when I think of woke, I think of like Lil Duval. Lil Duval, the comedian, used to always be like, "Stay woke." That just means, hey, look, just pay attention to what's going on around you, man. It's not as sweet as you think it is, but they got hijacked. That's number one. Number two, I'm gonna give a positive story about a Black woman who decided to step away and do her own thing. Are you familiar with Fawn Weaver?
Sounds familiar.
All right. Are you familiar with Uncle Nearest, the alcohol?
No.
I know you're not a huge drinker, but so Uncle Nearest essentially was the slave who taught Jack Daniels how to make whiskey.
Okay.
She took that information and she started her own cognac company, Uncle Nearest. They just got evaluated at $1 billion as of last week.
Wow.
This is a Black-owned company and a Black-owned drink, Uncle Nearest. I drink Uncle Nearest. I'm a lightweight, but when I do drink, I drink Uncle Nearest.
Yeah.
So again, to all the Black folks, I need you to understand we can compete. We are just as good as everyone else. You just need the right mentors around you. You need to plan and strategize and execute. We're just as good. We are not inferior to anybody else in any other way. And the sooner we realize that, the sooner we realize a lot of this pity and victim stuff, it doesn't make sense.
Exactly. Yep. All right. We're going to move to the last topic.